Welcome to David and David on Real Estate. Join us as we explore the ins and outs of the real estate market.
Good afternoon and welcome to episode number 29. And today I'm joined with a very special guest, my very good friend and my mentor, Shawn Sheikh.
Hello, everybody.
Shawn, we're so excited to have you on board.
Thank you very much. I'm excited to be here.
Likewise.
Shawn, it's always a pleasure for us to have guests on that are going to teach us something new, which most of them do, that we don't already know. But you're going to bring some freshness to this podcast, and I'm really excited to have you on here with us. So welcome.
Thank you. As am I. It's definitely fun to trade notes with real estate professionals and definitely learn from each other.
Yeah, and I know that real estate is a subject that's near and dear to your heart, Shawn. So without any further ado, I'm going to jump in and talk about some statistics. And the message here really hasn't changed over the last couple of months. We are still in a deep, low level of inventory out there. Probably one of the lowest levels of inventory that we've seen over the last several months. And it's not really getting any better. And whatever does come on the market is selling extremely quickly as well. So we're still seeing lots of multiple offers. We're still seeing lots of offers, $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 over asking. And, prices in the core of the GTA have really reached ultimate peak and a maximum. And buyers, are going outside of these city limits more and more to look at properties and to transact. My agents are going all the way out to Windsor. They're going all the way out to Oshawa and Pickering. They're going as far north as Aurelia to find deals for clients.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. And I know, Shawn, you called me a couple of weeks ago and you literally asked me if realtor.ca was broken.
I did ask you.
Why don't you tell everybody that story? Because that really goes to the heart of really what's happening out there.
Well, as you know, I've been investing in real estate about 25 years now. I didn't trust my profession to take care of me in my later days because we don't have pensions in automotive sales in most companies. And so investing in real estate was a safe play for me to kind of invest for future income as well as savings and so forth. So I have sections that I, look at daily to kind of see where the appreciation of my properties is going, as well as what's happening in the areas for rental. And one of the areas that I keenly look at is Winston Churchill and Eglinton, all the way up to Thomas. So there's probably about 50 blocks of homes in that center, and all probably built in the last 10 years. And they range from, townhouses, single homes, detached homes, and some condominiums. And typically I see anywhere from 8 to 10 listings in that area, and I wasn't able to see a single one. And so I was shocked, and I said, I've never seen that in 25 years, that there's not a single listing in this school district, because the school district's very popular in that area. And so, if you have children that are going to go to that school area, what do? You can't rent, you can't buy. Do you start knocking on people's doors, which is, I think, the next step. I think people are going to be aggressively knocking on people's doors and saying, listen, how much is it to get you out of your house?
What in general is the demographic in that area? Like, how old are most of the homeowners, like of age with kids that are in public school or older?
Well, it's such a mixed demographic because they have 5 schools in the area. They have 2 high schools, they have 2 middle schools, and they have a junior school. And so there's such a mix of of age groups. I mean, in that area, it's hard to kind of specify a median number.
But it's generally school-aged, people with school-aged kids, whether it's from nursery right up through high school, I imagine is probably was in that area. So it's not like the seniors that are still living in that area.
Well, you see, right across from the Streetsville GO station, they just about 2 years ago launched a complex of semis that were going up, and townhouses, and they were bringing in a younger demographic, a professional, young execs that need to be on the transit lines. And so they brought a different mix into that area. I thought they were crazy to launch semis at 1.1 million, but what do I know?
Seems cheap now, like 3 years later.
Correct. They're all sold out and nothing for resale.
Yeah, unbelievable. Shawn, I remember when we first met, you told me some of your numbers and some of your statistics, and I was a bit skeptical. I said, who is this Shawn Sheikh guy, and then what is he telling me? And like, I've never heard of people taking numbers when they go buy a car, let alone waiting for hours on end to talk to one specific sales guy when there's 10 other guys on the floor, all attacking everybody as they come in. Can I help you? Can I help you? Can I help you? No, I'm here to see Shawn. And I'll never forget, I was actually in the neighborhood and I said, you know what, I'm gonna go check this out. So I walked into the dealership, and sure enough, I see this waiting room with people waiting there, and some sales guy approached me. Can I help you, sir? I'm like, I'm here to see Shawn. And I literally saw the lights, like him bow down his head and the lights turn off in his head. He's like, okay, sir, go, take a number and go sit in that waiting room. I said, what do you mean take a number? So I walked over to the reception and she's like, can I help you? I'm like, yes, I'm here to see Shawn. She's like, take a number. I'm like, this is what I do to see Shawn? She's like, yes, take this number and go wait in that waiting room. I'm like, okay, this is getting really good. Like, I got to give Shawn a call and get him to come down here and like, tell me what's going on. Right? So Shawn, like, explain to our viewers, why would anybody take a number and wait hours to speak to you?
Wait, is this like a deli counter? Like you're taking a number like to be served by the butcher or something like that? You got to take, like, you're literally pulling a number off a thing?
That's exactly what it was.
That's exactly how it is.
That's unbelievable. And you weren't selling meat behind the counter there. You were,
no, it wasn't.
You're selling cars. All right, I got to hear this.
Well, I focused many, many years ago on the buyer's experience from start to finish. And I was listening to JD Power reports and listening to feedback from clients. And what they didn't like was the murky waters that they were walking into with the dealership and the multiple options that are available to clients today make it a little bit of a pressing experience to walk into a showroom and completely trust that you're in the hands of a professional salesperson who's going to put your needs first and give you the best possible outcome for your budget. And so I decided to put together a buying experience from start to finish that started way before they entered into the showroom and actually never ended. And so it launched a new style for my dealership, which was about 63 years old, Ready Honda, that they were not accustomed to. And thankfully, my boss believed in my sales skills and allowed me to handle the sale from start to finish, because they like silos in dealerships. As you know, there's a service department and a body shop and a parts department and a sales department, and then there's the finance and insurance office. And so you're sent from department to department, not knowing who the new face is and not knowing if you can trust the new face as you did the old face. So having a strategy in place that allowed me to reach clients well before they got into the showroom. And I'm talking well before social media days and well before you know, when it was internet marketing revolution that car dealers were trying to jump on. I was able to create a community selling approach. So I would choose a community to work closely with, and I would immerse myself into their events, whether it be their church events, whether it be their outside community events that were being held specifically for a community. And I made myself a pillar within that community so that they could lean on with questions that were unbiased for automotive. And so when you reach somebody in their place of worship or in a community hall or a setting that's non-threatening, the receptiveness is a little clear and the understanding is a little bit more clear. And so I was able to get my message across a lot clearer than a lot of salespeople did with their traditional advertising and marketing. Now, to kind of give you a little bit of more depth in that, the client today is given a variety of choices and asked to make a decision. And those choices have become very powerful in terms of value plays, quality, price has become a lot more competitive than it had been in the past. The competitors have caught up with each other, and the experience has become a lot more important for the client. And I figured this out a little bit earlier than most of my counterparts did in the car market. The first element of this is to create the person. And so I had to recreate myself in ways that car salespeople don't. I chose personally the martial arts. And so I immersed myself in kickboxing and bare knuckle karate. And so 18 years of this training allowed me to recreate myself from inside out. And so commission and money and numbers were not my main focus. It was more the well-being of my fellow people, my neighbors, making sure that everybody was being guided. Developed a distinct personality within myself that a lot of customers really took a liking to. Secondly, I wanted to create a style that was more of a consultative selling approach rather than a sleazy sales approach that a lot of my counterparts took. And so they would inundate clients with options, inundate clients with numbers, and hope that the client would come back to them to make a sale. And so when they were given all of these numbers and these options to go home and think about, the client would come back still unsure of their decision and therefore never really had that experience that I was trying to curate with my new style. So I created a authoritative selling style. And what I mean by that is my selling style was not filled with a plethora of numbers and options. It was more of focusing on the client's needs and listening actively to how the client wanted to be talked to and essentially sold to. And so I found that active listening was something that I needed to train myself on. And so I spent several years studying neuro-linguistic programming and nonverbal communications and picking up on cues that I think a lot of salespeople were not attuned to listening to. And what this allowed me to accomplish was a selling style that created a lot of security within the client. They would feel that they were sitting in a presence of a true professional that were putting their needs first, and I could be relied upon in being their automotive consultant for that place in their Rolodex. And so that was the turning point, because I would listen to you for about half an hour, and then my recommendation would be 1 minute, and you would say, okay. And that's without seeing the vehicle, without test driving the vehicle, without even knowing what you bought. You just took the recommendation, and you knew that you were doing the right thing. You felt great about it, and you woke up the next day with no buyer's remorse. And that was almost unheard of in the car business. And so once I controlled that full experience start to finish, I was able to control the story that left my office. And so what I mean by that is, yeah, I mean, if you become a really good salesperson and you can sell a lot of cars, you can make a lot of money. And then what? What does your life really represent? Why did you really do all of this? You know, after you buy all the homes you want and all the cars you want, and you go all the vacations you want and go to all the restaurants you want to go to, I mean, what does your life really mean? What is the purpose? And why are you doing what you do? And so I created a very powerful story that I wanted to live the rest of my life going forward. And that was, how do I take my skills and help not just the clients, but my community, as well as the industry. And I was able to kind of sit back and create a why and a how and a when. And I was very clear as to how to do that. So every single sale I did, a portion of it went towards World Vision to sponsor children. Another portion of it went back to the customer in the form of a gift. And a portion went to the dealer for the sale. And of course, a portion went to me as a commission. And so because all of this was in the favor of everybody winning, the circle was very successful. And the story that left the office was very powerful. And that story carried through generations of car sellers and car buyers trading notes and saying, you know, what do you mean the guy sponsored children through World Vision, gave you an iPad, and the car was, you know, way above your expectations? You know, like, did you not research the model when you walked in? Like, were you not impressed with all the features? Like, why are you so impressed that you got a gift? And why are you so impressed that the car was tinted when you saw it? And why are you so impressed that, you know, you got this special warranty that you didn't think you needed, but after it was explained to you, you were happy that you got it? And it was the selling style that I put together that made all of that very clear. And so you didn't feel like you were being sold to. You felt that you were being given a recommendation and a almost like a prescription that this is what you should do. And there was complete confidence in that prescription that it was completely the best situation for the client. And with that, I mean, if you don't have the character, if you're not able to build the energy when they walk into your office, if you're not able to have a product that matches the quality of your presentation, I mean, it doesn't work. But I was lucky enough to have all of that fit together in a perfect storm.
Well, I don't think luck has anything to do with it, Shawn. I think you carefully, you know, mixed all these ingredients, and, you know, not only did you mix them, but you perfected them, and you continue to perfect them on a minute by minute basis. And you continue to make, you know, those ingredients better and better and better, so that the final product continues to shock and awe, right? But I want to unpackage everything that you just said, because, you know, you just laid out a lot of information. Going back to the beginning, I think what you're talking about really is a form of guerrilla marketing.
Yes.
When you're talking about, going to the community, going into church groups, going into, event centers. Like I remember you telling me a story of how you sponsored an event, right? How many pizzas did you buy?
250 pizzas.
Right. And somebody asked you, I remember you were handing out pizzas and the gentleman walked up and said, "Hey, can I have 2 slices? Because I think my wife's waiting in the car." What did you do?
I handed him a box.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But those are the type of things that people will never
Never
forget,
forget.
right?
Yes.
And they're gonna remember Shawn Sheikh, they're gonna remember Reddy Honda,
Yeah.
and a Honda is the people's car, right? Like I remember you telling me a story, and there was a couple in your office, I think on Friday evening, right? And how did you sell them? You said something to them like you could have been anywhere today, but you already know the product, you already know the car, like sign here basically,
He chose to be here. Yeah.
right? So it's powerful stuff, but it's Shawn, these things. I mean, selling like this is not taught in school.
Correct. So, as a martial artist, we have a regiment that we follow, and it keeps us on the top of our games in terms of timing and making sure our accuracy is good. And I was able to take that approach and apply it to sales. And so every day I spend 45 minutes reading a sales book. I spend 30 minutes watching some of the greats that are mentors of mine, not for their words, but their word imitations, their control of the stage, where their hands are when they're speaking, how is their facial reactions, and how do they control the audience's emotions with their words. And just like we watch tape as a fighter, I watch a lot of tape for the sales greats. And I really enjoy Ziegler and Gerard and some of the greats, Carnegie, that have made presentations available on YouTube that you could study. And then the actual physical aspect of getting yourself prepared for the day. An athlete starts their day early, in the early hours of the morning, and I think a lot of successful businessmen start that wee earlies of the morning. But what it does is it gives you that a few hours of preparation that a lot of your counterparts are not taking advantage of. And so it creates a confidence in you when you walk onto the sales floor that you've done a little bit more work than all of your counterparts, which comes out in your presentation, which comes out in the energy that you emit, which comes in the whole circle that is the sale from start to finish. The energy has to be injected into the sale from the point of contact to the point of signature.
Well, I think, Shawn, this is a fabulous story. And when I hear it and hear you speak, I sort of unpackage it a little bit differently. I think you're obviously, at the end of the day, you're going to sell a product. Your product happens to be cars. David's product is real estate. My product is legal services. We all have a product to sell, and we all have to find a way to do it. And I think what you found a way to do to sell your product is to raise the bar and become a professional. You're not a car salesman. You're a professional. No different than me, no different than David, different fields, selling different products. But you said, how can I be really good at this? Raise the bar so people come to me as the expert.
Correct.
So when they come to me, I'm providing a service to them. I'm providing my expertise. I'm not selling them something. I'm going to explain them what their best options are, what's best for them, given all their lifestyle and everything else, and make it easy for them to purchase my product. Okay, because they're going to trust me and have confidence in me. And I think it's no different than what I do, and no different what David's doing. I really find this quite interesting, and that you found a way to do that in your industry.
Very well said.
And it's professionalism. To me, that's what it is. You raise the bar in your own profession, and anybody else wants to come along and do it that way, good for them. If not, they're just going to remain as car salesmen, and they're going to give them their best prices on things, and then wait till people say, "Oh, can I talk to the manager?" Is that the
Correct.
best you can do?
Right.
I'm guessing you don't have those conversations with your people,
No.
right? That's not part of the dialogue, right?
We don't even talk price options. As I said, when I give the prescription, the only conversation is, do I pick up tomorrow, the day after? Those are the only questions that are left after you're right, a professional presentation, because there shouldn't be any questions. If you've done something, 25,000 times, you should know ahead of time what are the variables that a client is going to think about, and how best can I give them the answers so that they're crystal clear and they're in a way that suit the client's needs, and they suit the client in a way where they understand how that product meets their needs. And that's an art form that I think a true pro only understands, because the amateur is so excited about what they sell that they forget that they're not supposed to sell. They're really supposed to meet the needs of the client.
That's a fabulous message. Like, be a professional, provide the proper level of service, and the commissions will look after themselves.
Yeah.
Your
Correct.
income will look after itself. It doesn't matter if it's cars or real estate or legal services, and it applies to other industries as well. Do a good job for your clients. Be a professional, raise the bar, let them come to you as their advisor. That's a fabulous story.
Most salespeople barely begin to scratch the surface, right? Just like Shawn said, they get excited about the product, and like I see this in realtors quite a bit, right? But there's so much more. Like you can keep diving in, right? Not only in the sales process and understanding your client, but bettering yourself as well along the process, right? And I think, Shawn, that's where I see, what you do each and every single day, how you invest, how you strive. Like I'll never forget, I came to your office, probably for the 30th time, and you added 2 elements to your office, right? The first element that you added, which wasn't there initially, was the element of smell. You started burning insects in your office, right? And I said to you, Shawn,
Correct.
Your office, like you have, all these children that you sponsor, and autographed, memorabilia, and Shawn actually has a glass window with all the products that people can choose. So as they're sitting in Shawn's office and negotiating or talking or getting the prescription, they're staring and looking at like brand new iPads and brand new computers and brand new phones. And they know that the minute they sign that contract, the next step is they get to walk through that glass door and choose anything they want. And I think from one eye, they never lose sight of that, and they're choosing, okay, do I take the TV, do I take the iPad, do I take the phone, right? And I'm like, where do I sign? I just want to go get my product, right? But now there's also a sense of smell in the room, right? And the other thing you added is you added chocolates.
Correct.
Now, can you tell me why you did that, Shawn?
Well, I think we need a tour of the room too while we're
let's do that now, so it all makes sense.
Yeah.
And so the entry is in here, and this is my intake center where we kind of sit down and have a conversation about what the needs, and it's a living room feel. Here's the gifts that Davey's talking about. Now there's about $50,000 worth of inventory that is on order, and we haven't taken delivery simply because of the chip shortage. And it's all laid out on display.
And everybody should understand that this whole area is your office. This isn't the whole dealership. This is just your office within the dealership.
This is just my office. These are all of the awards that I've won every single year for sales for Honda that I've worked for them. So I ran out of space on the wall, so I had to start putting them out on shelves. And then these are just memorabilia that I've collected over the years. I'm a big hockey fan, and So I've got the 67 Leafs and a couple of signed jerseys. But again, it's adding to the feel of the office. There's nothing about cars here. And so you're just kind of trying to figure out the story as you're walking in. And then here's a place for the kids to kind of relax and chill while the parents are talking cars. We've got a nice massage chair here for anybody that wants a nice massage. And then I've got my water feature in here, which adds to you know, the whole sound that's coming to your ears as you're sitting here. And then there's all of my training that I've gotten that I'm quite proud of. So Stanford, MIT, Schulich, Harvard, Berkeley. But it gives an idea to the client that they're dealing with a true professional that cares about their self-improvement. And then this is my travels table. This has got little knickknacks from all of my world travels. And they're conversation starters for the clients when they're sitting with me. They just, they want to know, you know, what's behind each of these travel pieces. But the bottom line is you want to be the person that they want to deal with. And so let me give you an example. I mean, as a common shopper, when you walk into a store and you have you are looking for the best dressed, best looking, best smelling, best posture, not knowingly, it's just naturally looking for all of this, and you're attracted to them. And so when you start conversation with them and they also happen to be interesting and entertaining, it makes the experience that much better. And so I feel that you have to put that work into yourself to make yourself an entertaining and interesting figure. So when people, you know, they ask me, Shawn, you know, what are you watching on Netflix? Well, I don't watch Netflix. Well, what do you mean? I don't watch TV. Why? Well, I train as a professional kickboxer. What? Yeah. Why do you do that? I mean, it's fun. Well, I mean, do you do it pro? Yeah, I went to Thailand. I trained all the way in Bangkok. I went right to the Mecca of it. And so, I mean, it just evolves. And, you know, what else do you do? Well, I'm in school. Well, what are you doing in school? Well, professional development, you know. Have you traveled? Yeah, I've been, you know, all over Asia. I'm going back to, you know, the Philippines now. Well, why are you going to the Philippines? Well, they've got this biggest real estate project in history called Green City. And I want to go and see, like, and so it just evolves the whole conversation. And at the end of the day, you haven't even talked about the product the customer wants to buy, but guess what? They want to buy from you. They don't know what, but they just feel like they want to buy from you. And that takes a lot of work on yourself daily to make yourself interesting, to make yourself energetic, to make yourself that happy being that people get attracted to and don't understand why. But it does take work, and it is a science. And if you kind of recognize it and put the work in, the results are unreal, like almost unheard of.
Shawn, go back to that sense of smell and the chocolates, because I mean, you know, it's very psychological what you're trying to do, right?
Well, I mean, in professional sales, it's the fine details that make the difference in negotiations. So, I mean, the chocolate, for example, is sitting by my business card, and it happens to be in an area where you've kind of looked down when you're thinking of making a decision. And so if you're smelling chocolate and sugar, it makes the decision process a little bit more pleasant. And, you know, and you hear the water in the background, and there's always jazz playing in my office at all times. And so the mixture of the sound, the smell, and the feel adds to the sale. The atmosphere of the sale is made before the client even knows that they're in a sale.
Yeah, and even the chocolate, I mean, like you're resisting the chocolate, and as you're resisting the chocolate, you're not resisting what's being prescribed to you.
It's also tiring you out because you're spending a lot of time trying to resist the chocolate and you're not sure, why you're tired, but somehow you break down and you say yes because you're tired. And then you ask me, can I have a chocolate? And I say, absolutely.
Wow.
Shawn,
So it's amazing, we're having this conversation, like 2 years into COVID. So I got to ask that question, like, how has all this been affected over the last 2 years when you can't get people in the same way? So how have you adjusted for that?
Well, believe it or not, I mean, people had nothing to do in COVID. So my sales were going higher because I was able to reach you at home and say, you know what, before you, go into being out of warranty, before you start spending those service dollars, I need you to come and see me. And because, the professional salesperson is calling you and telling you what's good for you, you're okay to come into the dealership because we were considered an essential business. Mm-hmm. And so my business model was always appointment only before the pandemic. It just became the way we do business because of the pandemic. So, I mean, in short, my clients were already trained to comply with COVID procedures before COVID.
Right.
Shawn,
you got enough space in there. You got enough space in there too. You don't have to feel like they're overcrowded. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I had tape on the floors, and there was 6 foot distance. And when I have people, I have a mask on, and my clients didn't need to really test drive the car or see the car. They were just happy to get out of the home and have some pleasant conversation with an interesting person.
Right. And have a chocolate.
And enjoy themselves for an hour or so.
Shawn, talk to us a little bit about statistics, because I think this is really where people are going to really start to understand the gravity of really what's in front of them. How many cars have you sold in 2021?
2021, I did 315 units for Honda. But David's chart says statistics. So for the 18 years that I was at Ready Honda, I was unbeaten for any months of those 18 years or years. I was the top salesman for the dealership. And at some point, I was outselling about 40% of the dealers as a whole by myself within my district. And so those numbers were being published every month. There would be a sales report of, how much each dealership sold and then how much each salesperson sold. And it became quite alarming to people that being a finance manager, I was able to outsell a salesperson, let alone the whole sales department combined, without touching a customer off the sales floor. And so that's what made things interesting, is that I said to my boss, I said, listen, I have a style that if you can allow me to do the sale from the start to the finish, I won't touch a customer off your sales floor. I just need access to your inventory and the permission to sell the car from start to finish. And the owner laughed at me and said, well, how can you go get clients if you're not going to take them from my sales floor? I mean, are you going to hog the phone and take the sales calls? And I said, no, I won't take a sales call, and I won't take an up off the sales floor. And so for the last, now it's been 20 years, I still haven't taken an up off the sales floor or taken a sales call. I've always made sure that I've created one of the strongest sales funnels the car industry has ever seen. And all of my focus was on making that a very wide funnel, not a very small one. And so that is the key to sales, is to have a constant supply of clients that are waiting for your product at all times. And to create that conveyor belt is the $1 million question. How do you do it? How do you create a need for your product that's there all the time without you having to go and advertise and, take out for front page ads in the Toronto Star and the Toronto Sun and putting your name over billboards all over the city? How can you go and get a funnel of clients to come and see you without doing any of that? And the answer was what David said earlier, was guerrilla marketing. Going out and doing the things that your industry doesn't do, that clients don't expect you to be doing. That is very powerful stuff. Cross marketing. I did a lot of stuff with the Brick, believe it or not. When they did their tent sale, I was out there with cars, and people are coming to buy a mattress, and they're like, "Why do we see a Honda Civic here?" But it was the shock of seeing the Honda Civic that led them to filling out a ballot to win a TV, that led to me marketing them a new vehicle somewhere down the line. But so I really focused a lot of energy outside of the showroom on creating a funnel that would give me that lineup of clients when I walk into the showroom. So all I have to do is click next on the remote for the next client to come in.
Shawn, you sold 350 Hondas last year. How many test drives did you do?
0.
I mean, that's shocking to believe.
Well, I mean, is it really? If you completely and utterly meet a client's needs from the discovery period to the recommendations time, and the client knows you've listened to them, and the client feels that you're a professional in your field, why would they ask for a further demonstration past that?
And Shawn, just to clarify, is that all within the Honda family of vehicles, or are you able to go outside that to access other vehicles as well, or how does that work?
I now, well, my owner has sold Ready Honda and retired. And so 6 months ago, I joined the Leggett Auto Group, and Leggett Auto Group has 17 dealerships and 9 brands. So I can now go outside of the Honda family and get any vehicle within the Leggett Group.
So, right. So before that, it was Hondas, and was Acura part of that as well?
It was, yes.
So it was always the Honda product, the Acura product, but now you can even go further outside that.
Yeah, like Toyota, Cadillac, GMC, Buick. Yeah. I can get a lot of brands.
Right.
However, I do recommend the Honda brand still. Not that because I work here, it's just I know, being 2 decades with the brand, I can see the clients being told right now, for example, you know what, come on in. I know your lease is finished, but there's equity in your car. I mean, how many manufacturers are able to call their clients back and say, I know you have a depreciating asset, but it's worth more than your buyback value right now. And even though you leased it, the equity is yours. That's very powerful for me as a professional, that I was able to have a product that lived up and exceeded the promises that I made to my client when I first sold them the product.
Yeah,
a lot of
now
clients.
We're hearing in general in the car industry that there's a real supply issue, just like we have a supply issue in real estate. It's hard to get a car right now, right? There's certain parts aren't available there, and there's a backlog of cars, and you're waiting a long time to get a new vehicle.
Our situation's a little bit more dire than yours. I know that you guys are sitting at about, in the real estate world, you're sitting at about 45 days supply, versus we are sitting at 0 supply. And the wait list is increasing daily. And so, just as an example, if you came in, with a family of 5 people, you have 3 little kids and you need a Honda Odyssey, you're waiting 4 months to get a car.
So what do you do with people that are at the end of their lease? Do they get extended for a period of time? Yes. Or as opposed to they're buying it out and then waiting to? to do
Correct.
another deal and sell it after? You're just doing an extension of some sort?
We're doing an extension of the leases, and I've been on the horn with clients that are going to be 6 months or 8 months from their lease end, and calling them now and asking them to put in an order for a new vehicle. And my clients, you know, they take the phone call when I call, and they just say, okay, Shawn, you've got my information. Go ahead and put the application through.
Yeah.
Shawn, how many 5-star Google reviews do you have?
Over 1,200 Google reviews. And these are
Well,
like, these are
and
stories.
people,
Wow.
I was going to say, like, I've never seen so much writing in a 5-star Google review, right? Like, usually you see a 5-star Google review and you're like, yeah, service was great. This was good. You know, people write literally pages and pages when they give you a 5-star Google review.
One of my specialties is helping creditly challenged clients. And, you know, the banks are basically bullies. So if they say to you, you know, you don't qualify because of a score, and you need to go get a cosigner, or you need to get money down, or you need to go to a different bank to get a car loan, I take that to heart, and I will take my 25 years of knowledge and training and experience, and I will go to bat for the client behind their back like nobody's business. And so I've gotten a respect from Honda Canada financials that when I tell them to take a chance on a client, they do. And so the client that's going through that, the love that they have for somebody who's a complete stranger, who takes the time and energy to fight for them behind closed doors, that changes their complete life. Because, you know, if you go from a 500 credit score to now a 700 credit score because a AAA bank has now approved you on a car loan, and prior to that you had $100 Capital One credit card, I mean, now that means that other doors open for you that wouldn't have opened prior. And that gives me a why. That gives me a purpose to what I do, because I'm financially independent now, as I invested in real estate about 25 years. So I really don't need to work. But I get up excited to come to work every day, because it's my little way of changing someone's life and knowing the positive impact that that's going to have on not just them, but their children, their spouses. That gets me very excited. And there's a lot of people who recognize that I did that for them, and they know that they were a complete stranger to me. So they're not ignorant to the efforts that are being made to them. And so that story that they write about me after the fact, that becomes very, very powerful, and very, very powerful for a future customer to read. Because, you know, there's a lot of people that are intimidated to walk into a dealership if they don't have the best credit, and they know that, you know, it's a depreciating asset, and that banks don't like to finance depreciating assets. And so they're probably don't have any negotiating rights. They're probably going to be put into a high interest rate and a bad car. And all of that is actually true in my industry, unless they walk into my office. And that's you know, that's very exciting for me. And so that is reiterated in my reviews. That's reiterated in the story that leaves the office, because people feel proud that now all of a sudden they have this new sense of trust, this new sense of identity, this new chance to change their fortunes, which I take a lot of pride in providing them.
Well, it's unbelievable. And you know, David has a long-standing relationship with you, and he's explained to me how he's referred to you as a mentor. And I'm trying to think of how to, mentor a guy who's, in the car business and he's his mentor. And David, our buddy David here's a big shot real estate guy, so when he doesn't use that term lightly, that he's someone else is a mentor to him. He's very successful in his own right. A lot of people consider him a mentor. But now I certainly get it, Shawn. I think you've got a message that is fabulous, that translates. And I hope that there's a whole bunch of real estate agents that watch this, and young lawyers that watch this, and other people in the car industry, salespeople and managers, et cetera, and owners that actually do this and listen to you and hear what you say, because you have a very, very powerful message that I think transcends what industry you're in, and it should work for all of us. And it's great advice. It's be something important, be a better person yourself, and look to help others, and all the success will come your way. And you're living proof of that. And it's a treat for me to listen to you explain these things to us.
Thank you, David. I have put together a school and a program called Own the Pitch. And the premise of this program is to create the ultimate sales warrior from within. And I've broken the program into 7 modules and power sessions. And the way it works is, if you'd like to start from start to finish, it's 7 modules. And I don't care whether you're a real estate agent, whether you're a lawyer, whether you're a doctor or a car salesman, this program is going to change you from the inner core. And the results are David. David did my program as I was putting it together, and he was one of my test students. And I remember
did he pass?
Being in a room and David talking about his results that month that he completed the final module. I'll let David speak of those numbers, but I think they were something that were different than he was used to.
Yeah, I mean, Shawn, listen, you're definitely an inspiration to a lot of people, and you're definitely an inspiration to me. And I've had the privilege of traveling the world with you, right? And I wouldn't trade that time for anything in the world. But I think the message is that if you put in the work and you have the discipline and you approach anything that you do as a profession, you will be extremely successful at what you do.
Oh, yes.
Right? And you're going to help. The more people that you help, the more life helps you, right? But you have to approach whatever it is that you do as a profession.
100%. I mean, if customers knew walking into your business that your motivation at the very core was to give them a shopping experience like no other, was that your motivation was to change their livelihoods, to change their credit world, and do this with the sweat on your back, they will love you forever. That client base will never leave you. They'll never stop promoting your name. They'll never stop referring you. And it's a lovely feeling both ways, because you have the same admiration for your client that they have for you, and that synergy never goes away.
100%. And Shawn, your clients clearly love you. They're writing you a book on your 5-page review. And listen, I went through your 5-page reviews. I mean, it's quite a thing. In fact, I would encourage anybody listening to this podcast to, Google you and look at your Google. Yeah, absolutely. Google you and look at your Google reviews, because you know what, the magnitude of everything that you've just heard begins to sink in then. Because no matter what we say, no matter how many stats we can throw at you, it's really hard to comprehend the magnitude of what you do, Shawn.
Peter, people are really amazing. And if they take the time out of their day to give you business, then you have to really take that to heart. You have to really feel like, this is a guest in my home. How do I take care of them in such a way where they want to come over again and sit with me again, and they want to show me off to their other their other associates, You want to be that person. And the very clear path to that is someone's heart. You really need to satisfy what's in their heart and what they really need, and even what they don't need. You want to make sure that you uncover every one of their wants and desires and needs, even the ones that they don't think that they have, because you're responsible for that outcome, being the professional that they trusted in that profession. So, if they're making the biggest purchase of their life on a house, it is your job, David, to make sure that even the questions they didn't ask you, you bring up, because they'll feel like, you know what, you went that extra mile for me, and that you took care of even the needs that I didn't know I had.
100%. So Shawn, as we wrap up this podcast, what are some things that you would recommend, a new salesperson that just entered the industry? Give him some tips and tricks.
Well, I would approach it just like a sports athlete does. So if you play basketball, you get on the court every day and you take jump shots, and you practice watching film, and you have games, practice games. And the same thing as a salesperson, you need to get up and you need to get yourself some sales books. You need to get yourself registered in some self-help courses or some self-improvement courses. All of the major universities provide them. You need to make sure that you have a array of mentors that you can study. And these are not people in your profession, but these are characters within people that you admire. And what do they do that you admire? What have they accomplished? And make yourself, on that path. Make yourself aware that you're on a path of greatness because you're looking up to mentors who were great. And most of all, make sure that you serve the people in front of you with complete integrity, because integrity goes the furthest in the business world. Although we think that sales techniques help, they do, but you know what? Integrity is actually the most powerful sales technique in the world. And it's the most simplest sales technique in the world. It just involves the right character to personify the integrity that's being presented.
Love it.
Yep. Fabulous.
Shawn, thank you so much for joining us, man. This is amazing. And we look forward to having you again in the future and peeling back and going deeper into some of these areas. Absolutely phenomenal. Ladies and gentlemen, Shawn Sheikh, one of my closest friends and mentors. And Shawn, thank you so much for taking the time with us today.
Thank you, guys. And thank you for having me on today. It was a complete and utter professional environment to be in. And I really enjoyed myself, and nice meeting you, David. Thank you for being on this podcast with me. And David, I'll see you tomorrow in boxing.
Yes, sir.
Take care.
Okay. Thanks very much, Shawn.
Thank you.
Welcome to David and David on Real Estate. Join us as we explore the ins and outs of the real estate market and dive deep to understand the issues affecting buyers, sellers, investors, and businesses. If you love real estate as much as we do, sit back, relax, and gain an insider's edge to the exciting world of real estate. David Gorski is a broker and the owner of Sutton Summit Realty, a powerhouse brokerage providing guidance to over 180 realtors. And David Korman is a partner at Kormans LLP, a respected law firm specializing in residential and commercial real estate transactions, with offices located in Toronto, Mississauga, and Markham.